We are live. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Sorry, God, I hate the start of the live. So it goes 3, 2, 1, and then it like pauses, and I don't know whether I can start talking or not. So I'm just going to talk. So welcome, everybody. If you're watching live, I hope you're warm in the Southern Hemisphere. I am, as you can see, bundled up because I detest the cold. Yeah, I don't dig it. And if you're watching on YouTube, a huge welcome. If the title of today's talk resonated with you, you know that you need to be here and you know that you need to listen to what I am going to speak about today. So tons of messages, tons of good energy coming through. No, let me take that back. Not good energy, strong energy, right? And the topic for today is cleansing the drama. So I had to have a chuckle, although, and I said this before, my intention is to really be a conduit for what you guys need and for whoever is watching and tuned in, either on the recorded or live. But without a doubt, there's always a strong reflection of issues in my own life and that I'm picking up in the messages, right? In the cards and in my meditation. So either that is just me guiding myself, or collectively we are all going through the same shifts. And I think the latter is probably true, because there is an enormous amount of awakening, realizations, actions, growth, sometimes brutal, sometimes a little nudge, but it's happening, and it's happening hard and fast. And collectively, as a species, as conscious beings, this change is exponential, and it's happening really, really fast. So it's awesome to be on the train, on the bandwagon, to be aware of it, and to really use the enormous, enormous opportunities that this all brings. Okay, let's get into it. So, big messages coming through today. And let me share my first card. Mirrored screen. Cleansing. So that we can get to this. So we need to cleanse the shit in our life. Okay, now the shit may take the form of people, situations, actions, whatever it is that is draining you, all right? It is time to let it go. And how do we do that? And I feel like this is a follow-on from last week's talk. And actually, if we look back over time, each week is building quite nicely from the week before. So last week we spoke about energy healing and how it was really important to back up the intention to heal with action, because if we don't, we kind of pick the boulder up and we put it back in the same place, right? So we actually have to take very conscious, brave action when we want to heal a trait in our life, an old pattern that we want to shift, whatever the case is, relationships, work, money, health, whatever. Once we have decided to heal that energy, to recognize that energy, we have to now do things differently. If we keep doing the same thing, we keep that old energy reinforced within us, okay? So with that in mind, when we want to cleanse the drama from our lives, when we have had enough, we know that we are done with whatever it may be, we also have to take action. So I just want to show you my notes here. I'm going to be reading a lot because there was so much that came through and I was writing it all down furiously. So I really want to make sure that I get through all of this. So forgive me if I'm looking at my notes. Right, to begin with, our most precious commodity, and the older we get, the more we realize this, is time. And how we spend our time is so vital, because this idea of tomorrow is another day, what's the point of it if you're spending days and weeks and months and years caught in this cycle of anxiety, stress, drama, worry? Like, what is the point of that? For me, and let me come back to saying why I think this reading specifically today is for me. I made, and I told you guys this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I made a really, really big decision in my life. And once I had made it, I told you that sense of relief and knowing of rightness was just epic. I still had to take the action and back it off. And I kind of feel like I'm still in that action stage now. And as I follow my intuition and trust my intuition as much as possible and as much as I am doing, and not to say that when you trust your intuition, it's just a smooth path. The path before me is clear, yes, because I'm trusting myself. but it's not a guarantee that it's smooth, because along that path, I'm going to hit those energy blocks, right? Those fears, those boulders, those old ways of thinking and seeing and feeling, in which case we have to take action and get through each one of those. So if time is our most precious commodity, you have a choice and an obligation to decide how that time is spent. And it's a very clear choice. If it is spent being sucked into drama, now often this drama comes from other people. In fact, unless you are the perpetrator of the drama, and if you are, I very much doubt you're watching this, because of course in your mind, you're not, you're the angel and the victim in the scenario. But if you're a relatively normal human being, then you are most likely the, and I hate to say the word victim, the receiver of the drama. So it could be an ex, it could be an old boss, it could be a friend, it could be somebody who's jealous of you. And I do need to say that energy came through quite strongly for me today, that somebody is deliberately trying to attack. And that's a very difficult concept to understand for normal people, because most people just want to get through their lives, do their thing, be happy. And to detract your thinking power and your time to deliberately calculating a way in which you can harm another person or get back at another person, to most of us, it seems like an alien concept, right? But we really, really, really need to put our big girl panties on, and we need to really realize that this world is not all rainbows and unicorn farts, right? There are people on this planet, in your life, in your surroundings, who take joy from creating harm, who create joy from causing drama, right? From just pushing the buttons all the time to a little degree, and sometimes quite hectically, okay? So I do understand that it's difficult to accept that there are times in our life where we need to protect ourselves. And as I was writing this down, my notes, I was reflecting on myself, thinking it was so hard for me because my nature is to help and heal and understand. So when I meet people and when I look at people and when I look at their behaviors, I don't take it at face value. I see the history, right? And I understand why they are behaving a certain way, why they're responding a certain way. And I have empathy for the wound. I do. And it took me many years, so many years, to realize that while I can have empathy for the wound, for the soul's path, right, it doesn't mean I get to ignore the front facing human aspect of them. And if the front facing human aspect is an arsehole and is being mean and deliberately causing this drama, that is something we have to accept, right? And as I was saying, that process for me has been really hard. And as I was writing down, what did I write down? Protect and stand up for yourself. And that has been hard for me personally throughout my life. And then I thought to myself, okay, well, let me make that extreme. If somebody were to come into my home and threaten my child, there would not be an instant's hesitation on my part for me to protect her. And I would feel absolutely no guilt whatsoever for what I had to do in order to protect her. So then I thought, okay, well, that's easy for most of us to connect to, right? My loved one's threatened, 100%, I'm there, I'm standing up, and I will do what has to be done. But if we dilute that down to these little drama-infueled events, right, that people like to do, they attack you on social media, they, God, what are all the terminology, the ghosting, the fucking, I can't remember, whatever. But it's all the attacks, right? The very conscious, deliberate harm that one person may do to you. Why can't we feel comfortable and entitled enough to stand up for ourselves in that instance? If that is difficult for you, like it was for me, I think, and let me explain the process that I went through, and perhaps that will help you come to terms with that and to push through where you need to establish your assertiveness, reconnect to your power, grow out of that comfort zone, right? Because it is very uncomfortable to be more assertive, to speak your truth, to draw that very firm line in the sand, and then to actually take action, which we're going to chat about. So if you are battling with the idea of Is it wrong to stand up for myself? Will I be judged if I stand up for myself, etc.? For me, it was very much a process of claiming power. And I wrote this down as well. Exercise our strength. So our strength, if we want to become physically strong, there's only one way to do that. We have to exercise it, right? Daily we go, we lift weights, we run, we do what it takes to build the muscles of our body. In the same way, we have to build the muscles of our boundaries, our assertiveness, and our strength. And if it is uncomfortable for us, and if we actually don't even know what's permissible, what's not, what's healthy, what's unhealthy, what's reactive as opposed to stillness, then it is very much pointing to a part of ourselves that we are still afraid of. Okay, but that is a topic of another discussion. Today we're talking about how to cleanse the drama. So let me quickly read here. Right. Drama can only exist if you engage in it. Right. If you give it attention. Now, when we choose to stop allowing a certain person or a certain situation to drain our time, our sense of peace, and here's your kicker, right? I mean, you all know about those conversations that you'd wish you had or that you plan to have, and you kind of play them out in your mind at like 2 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to fall asleep. And there's this huge sense of like anger and strength and righteousness, right? When you're playing those conversations out. But if they say that, I'll say that, I'll say this. And of course, the conversations in our minds are always perfectly, I want to say calculated, perfectly shaped to allow you to win, right? Now, what's happening there is there's a part of yourself that has been threatened, that is vulnerable, that is not in power. And the only way that it can express its needs, what's the word I'm looking for? The fact that it's disagreeing with what's going on. I disagree with you. I will not allow this treatment. I am saying no, right? If all of those actions and that truth is not happening in the outside world, if you're not enforcing your boundaries, putting a line in the sand, if you're not doing any of that in the outside world and facing the perpetrator of the drama, it's going to come inside and it's going to come out as 2 o'clock in the morning thoughts, where you are safely able to express your power, your strength, and your absolute fuck no, it's done. Okay. So there's a couple of issues here in the whole drama cycle. The first is that we tend to hope that it's temporary. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe this is the end of it and they won't continue. Maybe this is the worst of it. Maybe they've run out of steam. Maybe they've lost interest. Maybe they've met somebody new and they won't bother me anymore. Whatever it is, right? We hope and we wait because we don't want to confront it, right? It's uncomfortable for us to confront it. And get it so clear in your head. My God, I have learned this lesson so many times in my life, and I can very comfortably tell you, I shall never learn this lesson again. People's past behavior will dictate their future behavior. If they have been an arsehole or a drama-fueled little irritant in your life, for the majority of your past relationship, whatever that relationship may be, work or family or romantic, whatever it is, they will continue that relationship. Just because they've paused in their behavior, so they haven't attacked you in a week or sent you a mean message in 2 weeks, whatever the case is, just because they've paused their behavior doesn't mean they have stopped their behavior. And this is really important to grasp, because when they become normal for a small portion of their lives, we take a breath and we go, oh, thank God, it's over. Okay. They're behaving normally, naturally. Perhaps I can reason with them. Perhaps we can have a nice conversation now and we can come to an agreement and we can move forward in peace and harmony, right? And then we get genuinely shocked when a week later or a month later, they're doing the same thing again. The only time it's going to stop is when you put a stop to it. And you have to put a stop to it immediately. And you don't even need to wait for their next kind of outburst or their next means in which they engage with you, however it is, however they trap you, however they bring you in, right? You do it now, you do it today. And you have to be really, really specific with yourself. What did I write here? Yes. Be specific about what you will not tolerate anymore and about what you are releasing. And when I say specific, it's not good enough to say, well, oh, you know, I don't like it when people shout at me. Well, no. I do not like person A. I have recognized that the behavior is never going to change. Therefore, person A is not welcome in my space. Okay, be specific. I'll give you an example. About 3, perhaps 4 years ago, I told somebody something that they did not want to hear. And they responded in this cacophony of emotional maelstrom craziness, all right? And they went, and I didn't realize this because I was sleeping, but they spent their entire evening going through all my social media pages. It was absolute chaos. I woke up in the morning. They had messaged all my followers on Instagram, all over my Facebook. I mean, it was just an absolute outburst of a temper tantrum to the next level, right? And understandably, I was pretty shocked. I was like, wow, it's a lot of emotion. And I took measures and I blocked and I apologized where I had to. I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what this was going on in the case was. But anyway, I did not learn that lesson then because I understood why they behaved the way they did. And so that lesson came back in my life again and again and again. Luckily, thank you to me and to my relentless drive to become as whole and as healed as humanly possible. A similar situation happened to me a week ago. A very, very old friend, I'm talking about 20, 30 years ago, messaged me and tried to get in touch with me. And I responded with the absolute truth. And the truth was, I am just incredibly busy and I only have so much time. And that time is like divided into a little bit of me time, you know, my current, the people in my life that I'm actually engaged with on a daily basis. And then there's nothing left, right? So, when I responded, I said, look, realistically speaking, we have no involvement in each other's lives. It's been 20 years, 30 years, there's no involvement and I just don't have the time. And I said it gently and I said it nicely. However, I said it firmly because that is my truth. Similarly, I got back a barrage of emotional outbursts, attack, etc., etc. Looked quite familiar to me. I didn't even bother responding and I left it. You know why? Because I've become clear on what drama I will and will not allow in my life. Now, here's the kicker. If I had responded, if I had engaged, if I had defended myself or explained my point of view or engaged in any way whatsoever, I'm keeping the door open, right? So first I decide, I get the messages, I go, hell no, it's not happening, door's closed. But then I respond, door open, right? So to cleanse the drama in your life, you have to firmly close the door, and you have to keep that door closed. That means before you close the door, you have to make a very, very intentional decision about what you are going to walk away from, what you are going to intentionally release. Sometimes you have to defend yourself before you close the door. Sometimes you have to protect yourself before you close the door. Sometimes a truth that you really need to say, you have to put forward before you close the door. However, it is not to garner a response. Because if you're doing any of those items for a response, the door's open so that you can receive the response, right? So when I say that before you close that door, you need to be clear about what it is you do and do not want and what it is you're going to release, because sometimes we have to release ego, right? Well, this is bullshit. I want to have my say and fight back. Well, that's ego. Are you going to use ego to keep you back engaged in the drama, or can you release it? If you can release it, awesome. Doors closed, you move on. Sometimes the nature of the relationship means that you close one door and another door opens, because there's just, like, as I said, this constant, people can become a bit obsessed with you, or they can be so angry with you that they just keep hammering you. So however they are bringing the drama into your life, however they are trying to bring you back in, trying to engage with you again, sometimes it's not as easy as the example I just gave you with an old friend and just not responding, and that's it, right? So in that instance, sometimes you have to protect yourself, in which case you need to take a very firm stand. And sometimes that protection is in person, in writing, legally. I don't know. You need to make that decision for yourself. But the purpose of the message today is to let you know that this drama in your life is not going to fade away. It's not going to magically go away. It only goes away when you shut the door, and you shut the door with action. And that action is either, I will never respond again. You will never treat me like this again because I've put X measures in place. I'm not going to rise to future bait, right? And that is the outside action that we take. The inside action is where the awesome growth opportunity presents itself, because it will call for you to grow your strength, to grow your assertiveness, to grow your, sorry, I'm just getting distracted by the messages. So quick thing, when I was first in the live, I was desperately trying to find the messages, and now I need to desperately switch them off because they're so distracted. I'm like, ooh, hi, glad you're here. Thank you, thank you. Glad the topic, yeah. So I'm not going to mention your name out loud. I want to save your privacy. This assertiveness is very uncomfortable. And I know within your work environment, one of my viewers here, we've chatted previously in the past, it's very difficult for us to be assertive. Let me just check the time. Okay, we've got a few minutes. Sometimes in our lives, we feel powerless. I can't stand up to my boss. I risk losing my job. I can't stand up to my family members because they are supporting me, or they're offering some form of help with my kids financially, whatever the case is. I can't stand up to my ex because I'm really afraid that they will be violent, or they will cause some form of harm in my life on social media, through my friendship groups, whatever the case is. Oh, I'm glad I actually went off on a tangent here. And I experienced this myself recently as well. And this is an important thing to put forward. Good people play by good rules. We want to reason. We want to hope that you are a better person than you've displayed yourself to be. We want to give second, third, fourth, fifth, 15th chances, right? That's what good people do. Bad people do not play by those rules. Bad people literally do not lose sleep at night after sending a really nasty text message, or after being mean about you socially, speaking behind your back, whatever form of attack or drama that they are using. They don't care, and that's the method that they use, and they're comfortable using that. Now, unfortunately, for us to put a stop, a very firm stop to it, we don't have to meet them at the same level of meanness, but we have to meet them at the same level of strength, and there's a difference. So it's not a case of they send a mean message, well, I'll send a mean message back. No, I'll send a mean message. And what that is they are unafraid. Let's look at the message underneath that. They are unafraid to speak exactly what they think and feel. I think you're whatever, a raging lunatic, mean, horrible person who should be put away in a mental asylum, right? That's the message they send. And you're like, oh, how can you say that to me? It's so mean, right? So we don't respond with the same type, but we respond with the same strength. And the same strength is, if you speak to me like that again, I will sue you. Or, and at the same time, block, not engaging, whatever the case is. I hear that you have been speaking to people in my friendship group. Yeah, you see, it's a tough one. I'm busy playing it out in my mind now. Threats don't work. None of that works. The only way to let me quickly, before I move on, speak about work. It's a tough one. When you have an arsehole boss, it is a tough one. If you go above them, right, you go above their manager, the fallout always comes down to you. So it is very difficult. So it's a case of standing firm and also not letting it affect you. So on the one hand, it is, I don't like you speaking to me that way. When you are calm or when you're in a better mood, please come and speak to me, and then we can have a conversation about it and disengage, right? And unfortunately, when you are in a hierarchy, as in work, you do have to be a little bit conscious of fallout. But by practicing the very calm statement of, I don't want to be speaking to you that way, disengaging from it, you will, by that, in that behavior and in that practice, you'll be showing whoever's speaking to you that way that they can't do that anymore. They are not going to get the response out of you that they wanted, because their response is either intimidation, that they were expecting is either intimidation, they themselves want to feel powerful, they themselves want to feel right, whatever the case is. So they are feeding a certain energy off of you. When you stop giving them that energy, so if you confront them head on, that's what they want. If you become coward, that's what they want. If you start crying, that's what they want. If you go to speak to HR or somebody else, that's what they want. So the only way that you can cut off the energy that these people are doing to you and these people are trying to engage with in your life is to stop giving it air, stop feeding it. Okay, keep an eye on the time. So coming back to meeting them at the same level of strength, that's where the opportunity for self-growth is and for awesomeness is, right? To become more powerful, to exercise our strengths, our spiritual and our emotional strengths. Ta-da! So just to explain this card a little bit more, she is super peaceful, right, in her center, but there are all these sticks coming towards her, right? And it is your choice which sticks you allow to hit you. And if the same stick has hit you more than once, has hit you 100 times, right? And we can probably call that stick X's, right? If that stick keeps hitting you, why are you allowing it? Because you can't expect the stick to change. That is its nature, right? People's past behavior will always dictate their future behavior. If that stick, if that drama, if that pain, that stress, that drain on your life, your time, your energy is still hitting you, the stick itself is not going to stop its nature. You need to either reach out, take the stick and break it, right? Or you need to ensure that stick is no longer close to you so that it can't. Okay. So keep this image. And I also want to say, you know, I spoke about our collective change that we're all going through. There is incredible energy and an opportunity right now for us to shake off the things, the people, the beliefs, all of it that is not serving us, because we are truly growing at a remarkable rate. And all of these challenges, don't see them as challenges, embrace them, go, yes, something new, another way for me to recognize that this doesn't fit me anymore. It's gone. This belief is holding me back. I'll feel it and I'll release it, right? Every single thing that is happening to us right now, economically, within work, in our relationships, massive change. I really want to infuse in you this feeling of gratitude, because I'm telling you now, if you go into it, with massive bravery and curiosity, okay, seeing it as this awakening of self, awakening of power, creativity, and above all, truth, then there's going to be nothing that holds you back. So those fears are just places that you need to draw your attention to. This drama, the people who bring the drama, who bring the conflict into your life, are ways in which you can know what you stand for, build your strengths, and protect your time, your values, your happiness, right? It is okay. If you need to hear this message today, if any of this is ringing a bell for you and you need to hear this message, then if you in some way need permission, I'm giving it to you today. It is okay to protect yourself. In fact, you have a duty to protect yourself. It is not for you to feel guilt to protect yourself from somebody else's behavior. It is not for you to take on somebody else's behavior. All right. Okay, cool, guys. A reminder that if you want the early bird discount for Miserable to Marvellous, head over to my website and pop your name in the contact form, and I shall let you know. Otherwise, I'll see you. Oh, another reminder, next Wednesday is a public holiday in South Africa, so I shall not be here. But 2 weeks' time, I can't wait to chat to you again. Have a wonderful week. And thank you so much, everybody. Stay well and be strong.